"Mum, I can't come home to Finland." The cry from the other end of the line was raw, a sound Maria, living in Helsinki, had never heard from her son. Her world, meticulously ordered and predictable, jolted. Her son, her pride, the 17-year-old maths Olympiad gold medalist, was supposed to be on a plane back to her tomorrow. "What are you talking about? You're coming back tomorrow, aren't you? Everything we've learned, it might be wrong." His voice trembled, not from fear, but from a profound, unsettling, emotional upheaval. All 18 of us, we feel the same way. We want to stay here and learn the real meaning of life. This singular phone call tore through Finland. 18 prodigious teenagers, honed by an education system globally lauded for its rigor and efficacy, had collectively rejected their planned return. Their reason? A complete, undeniable transformation of their worldview, ignited by an unexpected layover in Singapore. The Finnish Ministry of Education scrambled, an emergency task force assembled. Parents were gripped by a panic that defied their usual stoicism. Media outlets ran continuous features, the question echoing across the nation: what exactly happened in Singapore? An urgent investigation team was dispatched, and the truth they uncovered began to fray the very fabric of this rationalist society. These young geniuses, meticulously trained to elevate efficiency and logic above all, had stumbled upon a Singaporean culture that superficially appeared disorganized, even wasteful. Yet, in that perceived disarray, they had confronted the uncomfortable reality that they had, in their relentless pursuit of quantifiable success, lost the most precious things in life. On July 15th, 18 gifted high school students had departed from Helsinki Airport, Finland, bound for Singapore to participate in the Science Olympiad. Their average IQ stood at a formidable 142, each a potential international medal winner. There was Juha, 17, who had already published 3 university-level math papers and secured early admission to MIT. Eino, 16, whose quantum physics research had drawn the direct attention of a Nobel laureate. Marcus, 18, a brilliant urban planner holding 2 patents in AI. They were the distilled essence of Finnish educational ideals. Efficiency perfected, individual optimization paramount, a mindset that systematically prioritized logic, minimized emotional noise, and ruthlessly eliminated anything deemed unproductive. But a sudden, brutal typhoon had diverted their flight, forcing an emergency landing at Changi Airport. It was in that unexpected detour that their bedrock values began to fracture. Day 1, afternoon. Their first scheduled visit was to a local high school in Singapore, intended to observe its lauded high-efficiency learning systems. What they encountered after the final bell rang, however, was something utterly alien to their experience. "Why aren't the students going home after school?" Juha's question hung in the air, a natural query for a Finn. In Helsinki, after-school hours were sacrosanct personal time. From an efficiency standpoint, the logical course was to disperse immediately, to maximize individual study. Yet, in that Singaporean high school, over 500 students remained voluntarily engaging in what they termed co-curricular activities, or CCAs. At the baseball club, a secondary 4 student, barely older than his charges, patiently coached a secondary 1 junior on the intricacies of batting. Even when the younger boy missed, the senior offered only encouragement, repeating the same motion again and again, with a calm persistence that struck the Finnish visitors as profoundly inefficient. "This is very inefficient." Aino murmured, almost to herself. At the Mathematics Research Club, the scene was even more bewildering. Older students guided their younger counterparts through complex problems. The instructors seemed to gain no immediate, tangible benefit, no extra credit, no individual recognition for their efforts. Why sacrifice your own study time to teach someone else? Marcus asked the club president, a secondary 4 student named Lim Ji-ming. Lim Ji-ming simply smiled. "When you teach others, you actually understand things deeper yourself, what?" He then added, a little shyly, "And because my seniors did the same for me, now it's my turn to do something for the juniors." His words silenced the Finnish prodigies. From a purely rational, individualistic perspective, this was a glaring waste of precious time. Yet, in Lim's genuine, unassuming expression, there was something undeniably rich, something that defied their carefully constructed metrics of value. Later, at the Chinese Tea Ceremony Club, they faced an even greater jolt. Members spent over an hour meticulously practicing the art of brewing a single pot of tea. Every gesture, from warming the clay pot to steeping the leaves, was a precise ritual of deliberate slowness. What's the point of doing all this? If you just want to drink tea efficiently, A tea bag would be enough, right? Yuha pressed, his logical mind demanding an answer. The club instructor, a quiet woman, replied with gentle gravity. If you only pursue efficiency, the spirit cannot grow. La. It's the effort you put in, the time you dedicate to the process, that cultivates empathy and consideration for others. This is the true essence of the tea ceremony. In that singular moment, for the very first time, all 18 Finnish prodigies began to internally question their unwavering devotion to efficiency. That evening, they spoke with the Singaporean students after their CCAs. Most were still heading to tuition classes, studying until 10 p.m. or later. The Finnish students were astonished. Why study for so long? In Finland, we achieve world-class results by studying only 30 hours a week. Wang Seng, one of the Singaporean high schoolers, shrugged. We're not just studying for grades, what? It's actually fun to work hard together with everyone. But university entrance exams are ultimately an individual competition, aren't they? Aino asked, genuinely confused by the apparent contradiction. True. In the end, it's a competition. But before that, throughout the process, we support each other. You know, we are rivals, but also partners. Maybe it sounds contradictory, Wang Seng smiled. But it's exactly this contradiction that makes us stronger, Law. That night, back at their hotel, the 18 prodigies debated late into the dark hours. The usual certainty in their voices was gone, replaced by a tentative searching. Is our rational approach really the right one? Yuha was the first to vocalize the growing doubt. Efficient learning and maximizing individual ability. That's the Finnish way of education, Marcus reiterated, but his tone lacked conviction. But what we saw in the Singaporean high schoolers today, they have something we don't. Le, Aino murmured, her gaze distant. Humanity? Emma whispered, a word they rarely used in their academic discourse. Yeah, humanity. A warmth that cannot, absolutely cannot, be produced by merely pursuing efficiency. Day 2, morning. A more profound shock awaited them. At a gaming arcade in Bugis, they witnessed a spectacle that defied their categorization of leisure. High school students were deeply absorbed in a local indie game, their faces alight with an intensity usually reserved for academic pursuits. Isn't this just a waste of time? Marcus bluntly questioned, the ingrained efficiency metric kicking in. But what Chong Wei Cheng, one of the gaming students, said next left everyone speechless. This game might look like just entertainment, but it actually contains a deep reflection on history, you know. Chong began to talk about a game called Censored Histories, set during a fictionalized period of strict societal control. The protagonist searched for truth in an oppressive environment. Isn't that our own inner struggle, facing societal pressures and history? Through games, we reflect on the value of freedom and how historical scars affect us. What? Chong's impromptu lecture spanned over 30 minutes. His historical analysis of the game, psychological breakdown of its characters, and interpretation of its social allegories possessed a depth that rivaled, or even surpassed, university-level sociology lectures. Learning history and philosophy through entertainment, Juha mumbled, the rigid compartmentalization of his mind beginning to crumble. In Finland, learning is learning, and playing is playing. The lines are clearly drawn. But here, the boundaries are blurred. Le. Next, they visited a traditional woodcarving workshop in Chinatown. Here, their values were not just questioned, but completely overturned. Mr. Lee Woon Hyong, a 72-year-old woodcarver, had dedicated over 50 years to his craft, his hands gnarled and powerful. Why do the same thing for 50 years? Couldn't you use 3D printing to produce them more efficiently? Marcus asked, his AI-trained mind unable to reconcile such apparent redundancy. Mr. Lee smiled gently, a network of wrinkles crinkling around his eyes. Things made by machines are precise and efficient, true. But they lack life. He stroked a piece of unfinished wood, his expression profoundly serious. It takes me 3 months to carve one piece. Every day, I talk to the wood, following its grain, slowly giving it shape. During that time, my spirit merges with the wood. Spirit? That's not science, what? Aino said, her scientific training providing no framework for such a concept. Do you think science can explain everything? Mr. Lee's simple counter-question hung in the air, leaving the prodigies without an answer. Are you losing something precious by only pursuing efficiency? Taking time, putting in effort, that in itself has value, you know. Mr. Lee continued, his voice soft but firm. A piece of work is both art and a form of cultivation. And in the process of creating, my own spirit is also tempered. We call it a Tao. the way of tea, the way of calligraphy, the way of woodcarving. Singapore has many cultures named Dao. It's about the journey to the destination, more than just arriving at the destination. This statement cut deep into the hearts of all 18 students. Finnish education was predicated on the efficient attainment of goals. Mr. Lee's Dao was a philosophy its precise inverse. That evening, they visited a calligraphy class. From primary school children to adults, people of all ages held their brushes with intense, quiet concentration, practicing the same strokes repeatedly. Why keep practicing the same character over and over? Isn't it very inefficient? Yuha asked, unable to shake the efficiency argument. MDM Ong Siulan, the calligraphy teacher, replied, "You write the same character 100 times, and each time it's different. Because the you today is not the you tomorrow. Through calligraphy, we are confronting ourselves." La Chuajia, and a 7-year-old girl, proudly presented her work to the Prodigies. "Uncle, Auntie, look, my writing today is better than yesterday, oh." Jia N's characters, objectively, were still quite childlike, but her face radiated a profound sense of accomplishment. It was the joy of personal progress, not objective perfection. "The joy of surpassing yesterday's self," Yuha murmured, connecting it to the Tao. "This is also a Tao, right?" Aino added, beginning to see the pattern. That night, the 18 students found themselves once again talking until the small hours. Their certainties were eroding, replaced by a growing sense of revelation. "Maybe we've only pursued efficiency and neglected the value of the process," Yuha pondered aloud. "Mathematical proofs too, perhaps. The thought process leading to the answer is often more beautiful than just getting the answer," Marcus shared, a profound personal insight. "In Finland, we often only evaluate results. But here, the effort, the journey itself, is imbued with value," Aino said, visibly moved by the shift in perspective. Day 3, the final, most visceral impact awaited them. They visited a volunteer group that had been continuously supporting the elderly and vulnerable in the heartlands of Singapore for over 20 years. Mr. Goh Kian Hong, the group's representative, had endured profound personal loss in his own life, yet had dedicated 2 decades to serving his community. Why go to such lengths? From a rational perspective, you should prioritize rebuilding your own life first, right? Yuha asked, struggling to reconcile the selflessness with his logical framework. Mr. Goh quietly replied, "When I went through my hardest times, strangers helped me, you know. Now it's my turn to give back to society." "But shouldn't you only give back to the specific people who helped you directly?" Marcus pressed, still trying to fit it into a transactional model. "This kindness isn't just repaid to specific individuals. It spreads like ripples, creating a cycle of goodwill. That's how we feel about giving back to society." As Mr. Goh spoke, a surprising scene unfolded within the Community Activity Center. Residents were actively helping and supporting each other. Even though many had faced their own share of difficulties, they expressed genuine concern for those who needed help even more. "Why do you help others, even though you've been through hardship yourselves?" Aino asked, tears welling up in her eyes, finally overwhelmed by the raw humanity. MDM Tan, a 70-year-old resident in the center, answered with a simple, weathered wisdom. "If everyone doesn't help each other, we can't survive. Oh, it's not truly good if only one person is doing well. When there are difficulties, everyone helps each other. This is what we Singaporeans call Gangku Yugong, sharing bitterness and sweetness." What? At that moment, all 18 students broke down in tears. "Helping each other," Yuha stammered, his voice choked. "We only considered individual optimization, but we forgot about the whole society. True prosperity perhaps isn't individual success, but everyone supporting each other, Lore," Emma realized, the truth hitting her with a force that rattled her carefully constructed identity. That night, before they were scheduled to head to the airport, the 18 students held their last, urgent meeting. They reached a conclusion that none of them, nor their government, could have ever predicted. "I don't want to go back to Finland," Yuha was the first to voice the unthinkable. "These 3 days have made us deeply realize how superficial what we've learned is. Efficiency and rationality are important, yes. But with only that, as a person, something fundamental seems to be missing." Aino continued, her voice thick with emotion. "There are things we lost here. Warmth, empathy, the profound meaning of living by supporting each other. I want to receive a real education here in Singapore," Marcus stated, his resolve hardening, not just to cultivate knowledge, but also to cultivate the spirit. Emma, with tears still wet on her cheeks, nodded vehemently. All 18 students shared the same unshakable sentiment. I, witnessing this, was utterly bewildered. Prodigies, beneficiaries of a world-renowned education, were unanimously refusing to return home. This was an unprecedented situation. I immediately contacted the Finnish Ministry of Education. After explaining the astounding turn of events, the official on the other end was stunned into disbelief. Our most excellent students, our national pride. Unbelievable. The next day, at the airport, just before their originally scheduled flight, Juha called his mother. It was that urgent, raw call Maria had received, the one that cracked open her world. "Mum, I can't come home to Finland. Everything we've learned, it might be wrong." This call sent shockwaves throughout Finland. Helsinki newspapers ran front-page headlines detailing the mysterious refusal of their genius students to return. Television news programs discussed nothing else. The Ministry of Education convened an emergency meeting, dispatching psychologists and counselors to investigate if the students had been brainwashed. However, the investigation results were stunningly unambiguous. The students, far from being manipulated, calmly and logically articulated their experiences. In fact, they were found to possess a deeper, more nuanced capacity for thought than ever before. Dr. Helena Virtanen, the lead psychologist, wrote in her official report, "They were not brainwashed. Instead, they reached a more profound understanding of humanity. They themselves discovered the inherent limitations of Finland's education system." The parents' reactions were, understandably, complex. Juha's mother, Maria Leinonen, cried as she spoke, "My son's voice, I've never heard it so vibrant, so full of conviction. It's truly confusing, but I feel like my son has found something truly important." Aino's father, Professor Pekka Lahti, a university lecturer, also expressed a mixture of bewilderment and reluctant acceptance. "My daughter is a mathematical genius, but the daughter who refuses to leave Singapore seems to have learned something even more important than mathematics. As a parent, I cannot, in good conscience, deny this." 3 months later, the Finnish government made an unprecedented decision. They approved long-term study in Singapore for all 18 students. There was one pivotal condition: a promise to eventually return and apply what they learned in Singapore to educational reforms within Finland itself. Now, those 18 students are scattered across Singapore, each pursuing a path of integrated learning. Juha is studying meditation at the Kongmeng Sanfor Kark Sea Monastery in Bishan, concurrently continuing his advanced math research. He shared, "I realize that to truly pursue the beauty of mathematics, you need inner peace. It's not just about crunching numbers. Aino is learning organic farming techniques at a community farm in Kranji, even as she delves deeper into quantum physics." She reflected, "Living closer to nature allows me to understand the mysteries of the universe more deeply. What? It's not all abstract equations." Marcus is apprenticing under a master woodcarver in Chinatown, while simultaneously pushing his AI research. He exclaimed, "I'm learning from my master how to inject life, true spirit, into machines. How to make AI not just efficient, but soulful." Half a year later, I visited all of them. The most striking commonality was the visible richness in their expressions, far beyond what they had once possessed. It was immediately apparent that not just their knowledge, but their very spirits had undergone a profound maturation. "When we return to Finland, we want to propose a new education system," Juha declared, his gaze now steady and clear. "An education that values both efficiency and humanity, Lore," Aino added, completing his thought. "An education that cultivates not just knowledge, but also the spirit, you know," Marcus supplemented, his voice imbued with a newfound gravitas. 1 year after their initial refusal to return, based on their combined proposals, Finland embarked on a radical educational reform. New curricula, meticulously designed around the theme of the fusion of efficiency and warmth, were introduced. The CCA system, a cornerstone of Singaporean student life, was implemented. Traditional cultural experiences were made compulsory. Volunteer activities were now recognized for academic credit. Crucially, the elements learned and deeply felt in Singapore became integral to Finland's transformed educational landscape. This ambitious reform is now globally known as Finland 2, attracting widespread international attention. At its very heart are those 18 former genius high school students. They now refer to themselves, with quiet conviction, as true geniuses. A genius of knowledge alone is a fake genius. Only by cultivating the spirit as well can one become a true genius. This was the title of Juha's most recently published paper, a statement left hanging, an open question to a world still striving for something it might not yet fully comprehend.